So when we talk about wind noise, we have audible sounds, the reasonably steady sound of the blade into the air. When there aren't any swishes or thumps, people describe wind turbines as an airplane overhead that never goes away. When we have other conditions that cause the swishing sound that occurred in the last audio sample, then we produce sound top steady. And whereas we might have been accepting of steady sound, the swishes and thumps make it much more known. We also have periodic mechanical sound as the gears turn the heat into the wind. Rumble. Now inside a home, a wind turbine sounds a little bit different. It's more vocal than it is the swishing sound. And the other thing we've learned about wind turbines is that compared to other common community sound sources, road traffic, airports, rail, common industry, the particular characteristics of the sound turbine makes them much more known. At some level that we used to consider to be really moderate. Now on top of the audible stuff, we have non-auditory responses. This is usually picked up as a body sensation, feeling of the wind turbine synchronizing with their breathing and taking over breathing. Vibration of organs such as eyeballs, feeling of a resonance in the chest. All of these vary to the person and are not something every person says. But those who do, it's a very uncomfortable and highly annoying situation. In addition, we have building response. In many of the homes that are near turbines, the movement of mirrors, wiggling of large glass pane windows, or even in some cases, acts moving shelves become an additional source of complaints. Next slide. I know that in Vermont talk about setback. What I have here is a graph similar to the one that I showed earlier, except that this was taken inside the head of a home that is 3,000 feet, the nearest of 9 urban. And as we can see, each of the spikes take 1 second, and in some cases, producing sound level well into the mid-30 dB range. And again, like I said, this is the drip and water cross effect. It may not be really loud, such to be a problem in the daytime, but in a quiet night, it's the difference between nights and the next slide. Studies have been done in Europe of existing wind projects in order to compare the sound level that causes people to become annoyed. Now, there's a lot of difference between a person's threshold for annoyance and noise and the second and others. And so when we look at common noise sources like rail, road, aircraft, etc., which are the graph curve on the right-hand side, we can see that in order to get about 10% of the people highly annoyed, and highly annoyed is not a lay term, it's a technical term meaning motivated to lawsuits or to political action. It's the point at which people quit complaining and start to do something. So 10% annoyed occurs somewhere between 50 and 60 dB. With the wind turbine, which is on the left-hand side of the chart, to get to 10% annoyed is about 35 decibels, roughly 10 to 15 dB quieter than any other of the noise sources. Now, a lot of times, the standards that are promoted by the wind companies or by state agencies are based upon understanding noise source with the right-hand side set of curves. We need to understand the turbines are different. They need to be looked at as a unique noise source, particularly because of their location in rural and wilderness areas, and we need to understand with decorative that they are much more annoying in the technical sense than other common noise sources. Look at that in a little more detail in the next slide. The study was done, this study was done by Jim Patterson in probably Denmark and Sweden. And it is another graph showing how annoyance varies with sound level. And if we look on the left-hand side, we see that for 10% who are exposed to the sound, annoyed enough to take action. All we need about 30 decibels. In order at 45 decibels, which is a very common level that wind developers will tell you except rural or wilderness area, that would result in 4 out of 10 people being highly annoyed. This, like I said, this different problem than the other types of devices we've looked at, and this additional sensitivity to the noise means that we have to have different types of criteria for it. Next slide. In addition to annoyance, there are effects. In 2007, the World Health Organization revised its nighttime noise guidelines based upon research that has been conducted since 2003 and 2004. What they are now recommending is that for healthful sleep, that the sound levels outside the home should be no higher than 30 decibels, dBA. When the sound levels outside of home ranging from 30 to 40 decibels, we start seeing more body movements, wake, sleep disturbance, and so on. Now, while the effects may be modest for the more vulnerable people, which are children, sick, those who are chronically ill, or elderly population, those groups are affected in this 30 to 40 dBA range. Excuse me. Next slide. Typically, when wind developers, into an area, the sound level they recommend as being acceptable will be in the range of 40 to 55 dBA. Quite often, 50 dBA is often the upper limit that they will comply with. But the World Health Organization is sound levels recommended. We have a sharp increase in adverse health effects. The exposed populations begin to have a coping mechanism, and vulnerable groups are severely affected. And by coping mechanisms, I mean people start living in homes. They'll sleep in their basement. They move the bedroom from one side to the other. They do whatever they can in order to get a good sleep. When the sound levels go up 55 dBA, we then have a high positive effect in a high percentage of the population. And there's information now coming from studies of highways and airports that at those levels, the stress cardiovascular system and other organs that, I'll call it, take a long time to show the effects of noise to respond to pathological changes. Next slide. In addition, we have another component of infant noise, which is the body sensing, which is referred to in low frequency touch. Now, I give you an idea of what here. If you imagine a storm night with a thunderstorm coming in the distance, When you hear the thunder, it's still 4 or 5 miles, you get a rumble.